In most fighting games that are out there, it's relatively easy to tell who the good guys and the bad guys are. The good guys usually wear light colored clothing and express themselves in a happy or determined way, while the bad guys often wear darker clothing and are very angry or manic looking. For example, Mei literally embodies positivity. I know that sounds ironic because of how annoying she can be to deal with, but in terms of her character, she's very innocent in how she talks and acts. And she also screams at the top of her lungs in excitement in almost all of her moves, like she's not taking the battle seriously. On the other hand, you have someone like Bison who's dressed in all dark red, and he literally looks like a dictator. It really doesn't get any more evil than that. But of course, like with everything else, there are exceptions. Potemkin at face value is a very intimidating person given his size and his strength, but lore-wise, he's a very kind-hearted person and enjoys painting in his free time. The best part about him though is that he gives the best hugs compared to everyone else. But what about characters that are both good and bad? Or maybe they have an evil version of themselves that contrasts who they usually are. Today, we're going to look at characters who have evil versions of themselves. If you want to see more videos like this, then make sure to subscribe. It's free and it helps the channel out. Evil counterparts of characters has always been a popular trend in all sorts of media, especially in comics. It's always interesting to theorize what would happen if a hero turned to the dark side, and this trope fulfills that. But before we get started with the list, today's video is sponsored by Yahaha Studio. Yahaha is a user-generated content creation platform for 3D multiplayer experiences. Anyone can create and publish their own virtual experiences without needing a background in code. This makes it less intimidating and really easy to get into. All the tools and assets you need to create something are built right into the software. The best part about it is that it's multiplayer, so once you're done with your project, you and your friends can experience it, or other random people that you share it with as well. If you've always wanted to create something but felt intimidated by coding, make sure to click the link in the description and try out Yahaha today for free. Again, thank you to them for sponsoring, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. The first character on this list is Evil Ryu. Evil Ryu was first introduced in Street Fighter Alpha 2, where Akuma could sense the Satsue no Hado laying dormant within Ryu. This is the same force that Akuma has harnessed, but in order to do so, he basically gave up his humanity and dedicated himself to becoming the strongest warrior, to the point where he became obsessed with finding worthy opponents to fight to the death with. Although he does have some honor and will not fight you if he thinks you aren't strong enough. Now that he's finally found a worthy opponent like Ryu, he tries to bait him into sharing the same fate so he can finally satisfy his thirst for battle. Evil Ryu basically represents Ryu's struggle with the temptation of power, and what would happen if he had fully succumbed to the Satsue no Hado. There is a time where he had used it in the World Tournament, where he wanted to win so badly that he embraced the power in order to beat Sagat. The force of his Shoryuken was so strong that it left a scar on Sagat's chest. In Street Fighter 4, Gouken tried to help Ryu seal the Satsue no Hado away for good, but as you know, it only partially worked, as Ryu can still be seen struggling with it in the story of Street Fighter 5. Eventually though, he does overcome it by using the power of nothingness, the same power that Gouken tried to use to seal it in Street Fighter 4, and that's basically where Evil Ryu's story ends. But what's interesting though, is that doing so caused the Satsue no Hado to leave Ryu and manifest itself as Kage. Kage's whole plot is to basically show Ryu that he's nothing without it. So long story short, what all of this really sounds like is that the Satsue no Hado is just a bitter ex that keeps stalking Ryu after their breakup. In comparison to how they actually fight though, Evil Ryu is much faster and more aggressive with his moves. He also has access to the Raging Demon just like Akuma. Moving on to the BlazBlue series, Noelle Vermillion is an artificial human who was originally designed for war. Her sole purpose was to kill, but one of the wars in her past caused her to lose her memory, and she was eventually adopted into the Vermillion family. She's a very self-conscious and clumsy person, but is kind-hearted and loving to her peers. This all changes when Terumi reminds her of who she really is. Mu 12. Mu 12 is her true form. She has more robotic armor and loses the guns in exchange for blades. Her personality becomes way more cold. She believes that the world hates her, so she wants to see the world be destroyed. Eventually, throughout the plot, Noelle comes to terms with her old self, which allows her to switch between states without reverting to her cold personality. Later down the line, Noelle and Mu 12 separate as two different individuals, but Mu 12 kept Noelle's personality, so now there's just basically two of her, I guess. Gameplay-wise, Noelle and Mu 12 are very different, which is obvious by how their weapons work. Noelle is more combo-focused with her gunslinging, while Mu 12 is more focused around projectiles and set play. Hattori's backstory in Brawlhalla is sort of similar to Akuma's and what potentially could have been with Evil Ryu, in terms of gaining power and the obsession for battle, but the way she gets to that point is very different. When she was younger, she was so skillful with the sword that the emperor offered a prize of 1,000 horses to whoever could defeat her in combat. For years, many tried but failed, until one day, a demon named Kaiguma had challenged her. Hattori could sense his power and she ran away. Kaiguma was so furious that he kidnapped Hattori's 3 sisters and kept them at his island. This of course caused Hattori to go after him, which is probably what he wanted. But along the way, she had got lost at sea until a stork lord showed her the passage to his realm. As she was approaching Kaiguma's kingdom, she had met his brother. He offered to give her his strength to defeat Kaiguma. In return, he would take her hand in marriage. Not gonna lie, that's a pretty weird trait. It's not specified that Kaiguma and his brother were enemies, but I'd assume so if you tried to help kill your own brother. But anyways, Hattori accepts the deal and slays Kaiguma to free her sisters. She then becomes queen of the island and basically becomes a demon herself. Now it's not clear if Hattori became a demon because Kaiguma's brother gave her his strength, or it's because she slayed his brother. All it says is that the demon blood burned inside her. But this demon blood is sort of similar to the Satsui no Hado in the sense that it consumes her and creates a thirst for battle. And that's actually the reason why she came to Brawlhalla in the first place, to fight strong opponents. And if that's not close enough, the name of her demon skin is Akuma no Kogo, which roughly translates to Demon Empress. And last but not least, Jin in Tekken has an evil counterpart named Devil Jin. Devil Jin is basically a cursed gene that was passed down from the Kazuma family, which is his family, although the gene had been dormant for a long time until he was shot in the head by his grandfather Heihachi. But instead of the bullet killing him, it had awakened the gene inside of him. Jin ends up going to extreme lengths to rid himself of the devil gene, even as far as putting the world in a state of anarchy just so he could release an ancient monster who he thinks the gene originated from, but ultimately that didn't work. And just like many characters on this list, the powers he gains from it makes him crave violence. He becomes an aggressive and destructive person, and the only person that can really bring him out of this state is his mother Jun Kazuma, whose spirit came to him in a vision. Some interesting details about Devil Jin's moveset is that most of it is made from Jin's moveset in Tekken 3, which was a mixture of his parents' moves. Jin hated his family so much that he unlearned everything they taught him and created his own style. But Devil Jin sort of brings back that repressed moveset that was passed down to him just like the Devil Gene. So yeah, that's my list of characters that turned evil, whether it was temporary or permanent. Let me know what your list looks like. Do you think anyone else should be added to this list? If you think so, then comment down below. As always, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Join the Discord if you want to hang out with us. Follow my Twitter for updates. And if you want to see extra bonus content, then you can head over to my Patreon. Anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. Peace.